Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Daily Dirty Podcast. I'm your host, John Croft. So, been having a discussion with a few people, friends, and mentioned this before about a gentleman that I was looking at on TikTok. Now, I try not to get really on social media because there's just a lot of crazy stuff out there. And this podcast is basically looking at some different views of religion, and I've kind of gone over this briefly before in another podcast, but it's just kind of been weighing heavy on me. So that's what we're talking about today, is some religion stuff. So I have a buddy of mine that I work with that was going to do some podcast stuff with me, but he's got a lot going on, and it's just not his time that he can pull away from doing this right now. Eventually, he'll be on some of my podcasts. So I had a discussion with him about this gentleman that I reached out to on TikTok. And again, I'm not going to say his name. Right now, he hasn't agreed to do it as of yet. He asked what the TikTok name was. Not the TikTok, excuse me, the podcast, what the name of it was. And I told him it's, Daily Dirty. And I asked him, I'm not looking to judge you. I just want to have a conversation on your views because I find them very interesting of why you're no longer wanting to be a Christian because of some things that you've seen or things that came in realization. Now, let's kind of talk about that a little bit because I talked to my buddy at work. He's like call him like my spiritual accountability partner. And my wife, Tisha, she is as well. Her and I have really good conversations, and I think eventually her and I are going to have one on a podcast as well, just to kind of dive a little deep and just talk about a few things. Now, this podcast isn't meant to try to convert somebody or judge somebody or push my beliefs on anybody. Like I said before, my journey is a lot different than everybody else's, and I respect your journey and I respect your choices that you want to make, that you feel it's best for you. And that's what it is. It's what's best for you, not what I feel is best for you, but what you feel is best for you. That sounds kind of weird there, explaining that. Sorry, this weather's got me a little congested. So I'll talk to my buddy at work, and I was just kind of letting him know how I felt. And it was kind of hard bringing some things up because religion is hard for some people to talk about. Some people it's not. It's not really appropriate for work in my eyes. But him and I just have a side chat that we talk about some things, and just kind of how I felt about this young guy that's brings a lot of interesting things about religion. And I talked to Tisha about it a little bit as well this morning and kind of told her how I felt. And I was like, I just got to do a podcast about it. I like doing podcasts because it helps me. I wouldn't say vent, but it helps me kind of get it out. Even though I can talk to her and talk to my buddy at work and stuff like that, I just felt I wanted to share this of how I was feeling and things that are coming to light. So TikTok has this trend that's going on about not believing in God and you shouldn't believe and all this other kind of stuff. And hey, that's their prerogative. And that's not what kind of eats at me a little bit. It's the fact it's a trend. But at these trends, if you're looking at them, you have to kind of read between the lines on a lot of things when it comes to religion and life in general. And that's what I've kind of been doing the past couple of weeks. And I've kind of just been doing some research and kind of looking at a lot of different views and aspects of it. And the trend is just basically, it's all a lie. It's all man-made. It's all this. It's all that. And, and I like reading comments. Like I stated that before. I like reading the comments because I like to see everybody's opinion about it. And a lot of it's interesting. A lot of it's just, agreeing and things like that. I posted a few things because a lot of it's about just, all Christians are like this and all Christians are like that. And, Christians suck and blah, 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 which, okay, hey, that's your opinion. I'm not mad at you. And I can't tell you to judge or not to judge, because if that's what you're going to do, it's what you're going to do. It's not my right or position to tell you what you can and can't believe. But it's interesting to read it. And I just kind of put in a couple of posts, which I never got a response. Nobody responded to any of it. It's just, maybe it's AI or something that's putting comments in there to make the, the trend or the analytics, excuse me. Well, Monster's giving me gassy today. Got the burps. But I kind of put in there saying, look, I'm a Christian, but I don't act like all these other Christians that you're talking about. Have I seen it? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind. Personally, I found my faith at the age of like 13. I was baptized. And I talked about the gentleman that was my youth pastor. And that kind of weighed a little heavy on me too. And seeing this guy that kind of brought a lot of joy and faith and showed me, what they say, showing you the light or showing you the faith. And he changed over the years. And there's when I talk about everybody's journey is their own journey, his journey just hit a serious bad road. I don't blame the guy. It's like I said, everybody's journey takes their turns. And I mean, he just had a lot of horrible things happen in his life, and it just changed it because he was blaming God and, God allowed this to happen. And, here I am, one of your faithful soldiers, and I'm trying to preach the word that you in his eyes felt that was his calling. He feels betrayed. Now, this other young gentleman, I don't know his whole story of kind of what happened. I mean, I kind of been, watching the TikToks and kind of piecing some of it together. And that's why I kind of wanted him on this podcast. Cause I mean, I'm really interested in know some of the stuff that he talks about. And when you look at religion and how if you take it all the way back, religion is a business. Okay. Just those of you that are really strong faith, don't hate me for this, but just, it's not saying I'm not saying don't believe in God, but kind of look at it and what's man-made and what's faith. Okay. Sorry, this is just it. It weighs very heavy on me. It's not that I'm in a position to where I feel I need to stop believing or anything like that. My faith is very strong. But there's some pretty interesting facts that kind of makes you look at the rest of it. Okay. I've talked previously about, there's churches that you go to and it's a money scheme. And I've had people, I was like, no. You have to give 10% tithe, whether your time or your money, and they got to keep the lights on. And I get all that. But Tisha brought up a really interesting concept with that too, is like, and so did my, before I get to what Tisha and I talked about, my buddy at work, he's just, he's been a very spiritual person to me. He's, when you go to church or, if you're in a youth group and they tell you, being around other Christians, it kind of makes you stronger and things like that. And it does in a sense. And he was just basically telling me, look, there's just a lot of racism. There's a lot of, different aspects how religion has changed over the years. But if you look at it in the past, it hasn't really changed. It just kind of had a different face. And you look at back in the day of the Crusaders, of, the Christian Crusaders, of what they did is like, they actually killed people that didn't believe in God. And yeah, all that stuff's in the Bible and all the other kind of thing, but like I said, it's to me, a Bible is just a guide. You go in there and you kind of get what you need from it, just to kind of keep your faith strong. But it's man-made. A church is man-made, and I've talked about this before. It's just what I believe. I don't expect anybody else to believe what I believe, and I'm not asking you to. All I'm asking you is to kind of look at the facts of everything. And when Tish and I talked about it a little bit this morning, because I told her, I was like, I have to do a podcast about this. I know I'm kind of doing it before, but I just want to go a little bit deeper because it's weighing heavy on me. It's not confusion. It's kind of a bit of a reality check when you kind of look at it, because some people that get into faith, they're trying to find the best way to kind of describe this. They're followers, but they it's like they blindly follow. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with following faith and things of that nature in my eyes, or what I believe, but there's also got to be where you have your personal journey. Okay. It's like, think of it as a highway. Everybody's on a highway trying to get to a destination, right? And sometimes you got to hop on that highway to continue your journey, but you got a lot of side streets and things you got to get to, or get to in order to get to the highway. So think of faith. I won't say spirituality, but faith is kind of like a highway. But kind of like a highway, you get on and off to different destinations of your journey. Okay. And when her and I kind of talked about that, there are some churches that if you had a homeless person that's coming in because they do believe in God and they want to get out of the code or something, and they go into a church, there's some churches that push them out. It's like, no, you're not part of our congregation, so you can't be here. In order to be here, you got to be a member, or you're filthy. Now take it back to the day. And when I talk about how the Bible is a guide, if you read in the Bible, Jesus walked the streets. He didn't go to a church. I mean, this guy went into the brothels. He went into the worst places, and he just spoke his faith. Now, he didn't say, hey, you believe in what I believe in. He just spoke and got things off his chest, is how I feel it is. This is how I'm able to not have all these materialistic things. And us as humans, we like materialistic things. Some of us like a lot of it. Some of us don't like much of it. So you look at, it's kind of a sales pitch. You go into a church and they have their ushers that come there and they pass the bowl around and expect you to put something in there, and they're not forcing you. But if you listen to the words of what they speak, of their interpretation of the Bible, of the lesson that day, maybe they're low on their money, and they will preach about something and saying, sometimes you just have to give blindly and all this. And I've been in churches like that. And I never really thought about it really then. I mean, I've given some money to a church. I've given some time to a church. But I've been to a lot of different types of denominations. I've been Methodist, Baptist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Advent, Catholic, non-denominational churches. And that's one I talked about. And they were like literally pushing each other around. It was like a mosh pit, they look like normal freaking people. And it's the Holy Ghost. The way I see it, and I try to explain it, the way I see it, and again, I'm not expecting people to believe it, is well, they talk about the Holy Trinity, which Trinity means three, right? They're like, well, how can Jesus be God? How can the Holy Spirit be God? How can God be God? Think of it as water, okay? Water can be three different things. It can be liquid, it can be frozen and be solid, and it can be gas. When you heat it up, it turns into steam, but it's still water, okay? And that's how I see the Holy Trinity. They're still one, they're just different forms of one. You know, and I got a lot of real cool about that. People's like, no, they're three separate things. Yeah, I don't think so. I just don't believe that. I think they're on separate thing at that moment, but they all come from one thing. And in these TikToks that I see, people are, you know, oh, you're just giving to the masses and you're just this. And when you need to free yourself, if you had free will, then God knows that I'm going to do this, do that. Then, you know, how do I have free will if he already knows what I'm going to do? Let's talk about that for a minute. You can look at different parts of the Bible and interpret any way that you want to, you know, the how your mind, and that's the thing. Think of your mind, yeah, it's free will, but really kind of think about it. What is actually free will? Free will, if you think of it as the brain or your mind, you have the choice to make your own decisions within your mind. Okay? And you think about free will. It's the opportunity that your mind provides. It's the different sides. It's what makes us unique from one another is our different thoughts. Now, you can still have some views as everybody, but not everybody has the exact same 100% views. That's free will. When you have these preachers that are out there saying, no, God gave you free will to choose in between this and choose between that. No, your mind is free will. You're born with free will. You're born with making your own decisions. But think about how people are raised when you get into free will. Okay. I don't like talking about racism and all other kind of stuff. I just don't, because I'm just not a racist person. And I joke around, oh, it is when I drive, you know. But in all honesty, my buddy that's at work, he's black. The gentleman that I want on my podcast, he's black. I don't see that. I can see it because physically that they are, but I see them as a person. I see them as a very interesting person, not because of their skin tone. I enjoy what they say. I enjoy what they bring to the table as a person, as an individual. Okay. And the reason why I talk about that is when you're born, your environment kind of dictates a little bit of your journey. Okay. Nobody's born prejudiced. Nobody's born religious. Nobody's born like that. It's taught. No one, it's not like someone's born and automatically they come out like, whew, man, I can walk, I can talk, I can read, I can make my own choices. Your brain isn't developed. It's a learning process. It's part of a journey, you know, and there's some, you know, talks about there's baby Christians and you kind of grow through this of how you be a stronger Christian. And I believe in some of that, but it all boils back down to your brain developing. Okay. So if you look environments of how a person is taught or how, you know, a human is taught, sometimes that's all you know. So if you're born into a racist family and they push that on you and they push that on you, you wasn't born with that. You were taught how to be racist. You had the basis of what your parents or whoever you lived with, because that's how you learn. You go off other people's actions, you go off other people's emotions, and you look with everything. And when it's drilled into you, either you're going to proceed with it or you're going to make your own choice, but it depends on how your mind is. Okay. There are some people that don't have a strong will. I don't think you're born with that. I just think it's just each individual person has different types of mental capacity of whatever. Okay. So I'm not going to get into psychology or get into the fact of, different types of, brain patterns of, in psychology, talking about there's people that have schizophrenia. There's people that have addiction problems. It's in their mind, or a person's born and they feel that I shouldn't be in this sex. Okay. Any of that stuff that you're raised with, as a human, you have the opportunity, and this is where I talk about what free will is. You have the opportunity to choose what path you want to be in. That doesn't mean that things are going to help you along the way or something's going to nudge you over to this path. I mean, and that's just my own honest opinion. I can tell you straight up this. Okay, where I grew up at, it was very dictated by your skin color. And my family was racist. I mean, when I mean racist, they were just, if you weren't white, you just weren't right. Oh, no, we don't believe in God in this house. What's he doing for us? Don't help other people. Nobody's helping us. A lot of negativity, no love, no faith, nothing but a bunch of hate, a bunch of hate. So having free will or an open mind, think of that concept. I didn't want to be racist because I didn't see it. I got jumped by a lot of Hispanic people because that's what they did back then. I didn't sit there and cuss them out because of their skin color. I cussed them out because they jumped me for being different. Religion is just, it's changing. You're looking at trends. You go through trends to where, and I talked about this before, there was like people, black people, dear white people, dear black people. People don't give a crap. They're all people. That trend is kind of dying because I guess it's just not getting a lot of popularity anymore. So now it's like, let's attack Christians. No, I'm not mad at you for doing that. I'm mad at the dear white or dear black situations. That's your opinion. That's free will. How can you say free will doesn't exist? And back to the folks that are saying, oh, well, if I had this and I had that, then he knows what I'm going to do. Then, why should I even do anything? Take a second to stop and just think about what you're saying. Just for a minute. I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay? Like the young gentleman, I don't disagree with a lot of things he says. There's some things that ain't on my journey or on his journey. But I like what he talks about. I find it very interesting. I find some facts in what he's saying. I'm not, oh man, he lost his faith. Oh my God, you need to get it back. No, I'm not saying that. That's your journey, man. People that take scriptures from the Bible and say, oh, this isn't a fact or this isn't right. These preachers are saying this, and you're doing the same thing. Except you're not asking for money, you're asking for followers. Because you're pushing your agenda now. Oh, preachers are hypocrites. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So are you. So am I. A lot of people are hypocrites. That's part of free will. That's part of your mind. Think of another aspect of the Holy Trinity. Okay? You're a solid, right? And you have a soul. Okay? That's your consciousness. A soul isn't something physical, it's something that's in your mind. You know, it's your personality, it's your mental actions. Okay? But you bleed. Okay? You sweat. See how all that comes together? Now, how do we know we're not talking about humans? I'm not saying I'm a god or anybody else is a god, but when they talk about how God made us in his image, and then think of the Holy Trinity, are we not that as well? Just something to think about. So, moving forward with this podcast, some of the things that have come about, like I said, this trend on TikTok, kind of looked into it, and I'm a researcher. I like to look into some things, but a lot of it's true. You look back in the day, religion was created to control the masses. Okay? It's like politics. Everybody's pushing this agenda. Oh, if you want to live like this, then you believe in this God and we'll take care of you. Or who are you? Why is it that you get to decide my fate? So if I believe in what you believe in, then I get to live this poverty life of barely struggling. But you say, oh, well, the reason why I have all this because I need all this for y'all, you know, it's still considered a church, even though it's not physically a church. And if you look at that aspect, but I mentioned before, I've seen preachers, not all, not 100%. Like that's what I say about Christians. Not all Christians are these people that saying, oh, if you don't believe in me or you don't believe in my faith, you're going to hell, or, you know, this is what you got to do. And you got to get rid of all your materialistic things and give it to the church. And no, I don't believe in that shit. I just don't, you know, it's a business. When you have a preacher that's up there talking about fruits of your labor and, you know, God gives things to, you know, rewards for your life and the things that you're doing. You know, you can think about the crown that you get up and all your jewels or all the people that you saved and all. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Okay. Man made all of it. Now you have this Bible that they say is the oldest book in the world, but it's not. Do your research, people. Make your own conclusions. Figure out your own path, but at least have some knowledge of different options that are out there for you. I still have my strong faith in God. I always will. Even though I don't trust or believe in the man-made things, I just feel God, he does know me. He knows I'm going to make a decision that's going to be based off my faith for me. I'm not going to judge people for what you do. It's your life. If you let people, and here's just some advice that I've learned, you take it or not, or whatever, I'm not telling you what to do. If you live your life based off what someone's telling you should do, and I'm not telling you just go out there and like kill and do all this stupid crap, but you get what I'm saying. Let's just use a little bit of common sense here. That person is controlling you. It's no longer your journey. Your journey is locked away inside of you because someone else is controlling it now. And there's some people that are all right with that. Blindly leading. because the Bible said so. Now, you want to look at contradictions, which a lot of them are true. The way I see it, a lot of people see it. How is that free will if I'm having to do what you tell me to do? Give you all my money, live in poverty, barely scraping by while you're out there eating like a king, driving a nice car, dressed up, all snazzy, have a bigger house and all this other kind of stuff. Oh, these are the fruits of my labor. I was chosen by God. Nah. Mm-mm. Some of them might have started off with that fate, but greed will creep in real quick on some people that are very weak-minded. Oh man, I can make some money off this. You know, I might be able to get some of my wants off my faithful followers. Just take a mental stock of that and look at a lot of stuff that's saying. I've had people that judge me saying, oh, you're not a Christian because you don't believe in the Bible. I didn't say I didn't believe in the Bible. I believe that it's a guide. It can give you some direction, but I'm not going to follow it to the T. It's like the news. Look at the news. Oh, there's going to be bad weather over here. You shouldn't go there. You're not, da 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 da. Man, I got to go to the store and get some shit. I'm going to have to get out in it. That's just how it's going to be. And you get out there and it's not as bad as they say. Maybe it is for other people. I got a 4-wheel drive truck. I'm going to make it happen. That's my journey. Again, you can sit there and listen to it and be like, oh no, weather's bad. That means I got to stay in the house. Make your own choices. I'm not saying going out there and be stupid, which I've done before, but that's just me. Think about what is best for you. I mean, reality. I'm not saying, well, what's best for me is having this big house and fancy cars and all these toys and all this fun stuff. This is what I deserve. Hey, I ain't mad at you if you do. Oh, God's going to give me my correct season for this and yoke this and blah, blah. No. Mm-mm. Let's talk about heaven and hell for a minute. You read the Bible and you got Genesis on the New Testament, Genesis, Revelations, and all this crap in between. Okay. And I was watching this TikTok and this brought up a lot of sense. And this is how my mind figures it out, right? So it talks about that Adam and Eve was the first of their kind. They were already adults. It doesn't talk about how they grew up to where they were at. Okay. So who was writing this at that time? Who was witnessing this at that time to put that in the Bible? Think of that. Just think of that for a second. Okay. And I don't have the Bible in front of me, and I'm not 100% accurate, but so Adam had a couple kids with a little girl, right? They ended up kicking one kid out and got married to somebody else. Well, where do those people come from? It says in the Bible that incest is a sin. Well, where did everybody else come from? Wouldn't it be technically incest? I mean, there was no other people around. I mean, you know. But then I thought in my mind, do you have other religions? Do you have the Quran? You know, or Bibles or whatever. You have Buddhism, you know, there were tribes where there was Indian or Africans or Egyptians. They had their own gods as well. What if it was created and everybody had their own set religion and their own situation going on, and then everybody would just kind of mingle together like, oh, hey, that's a new looking person. How do you think things get populated? Think of that, you know? It wasn't like God was like, ooh, man, we got to add some kids. Poof, here we go. A lot of people's like, well, where did all the different people come from? Now, you can read the Bible about the Tower of Babylon where men got greedy as they normally do, and they try to build a tower up to get up to God. Yeah, God was mad. He was pissed. He was like, oh, hell no. Not on my watch. Spread everybody, different languages, different religions, different race, if you want to think of it that way. Spread everybody out. What's interesting about that is, well, that happened way later on. So when you're reading these books of how any book that you read, it comes in chapters. It doesn't start off in the middle at the beginning, or it's the beginning, then it's some of the end, and then some of the beginning and some of the middle, and then it kind of just creeps on. Maybe the way it was translated, man was like, man, let me put this in this order. Maybe this can help me control the masses. Okay, think of kings and queens. You know, when I talk about race, if you go over to like the UK, you know what they say? Oh, I'm Scottish. They don't say I'm white. You know, you go to Africa, I'm African. We're America. We're American. There's black people in UK that I'm English. They don't say I'm black. Why is it like that here in America? You know, just food of thought. I was talking to Tish about that earlier. And you think of the Tower of Babylon that it talks about in the Bible, and it just spread everybody everywhere. It just, I don't think people that witness things correctly, because we all view something differently. The way our mind translate what we see. You know, we all could see some of the same things. You know, I said that before in a previous podcast. If you line 10 people up, you can tell the first person is kind of blue. By the time you get to the end, it's like pink or some shit. Because people's minds see things differently. That's what I love about people, is you have your own opportunity to make your own decisions. I talked about sheep and wolves and stuff like that. If you're fine with just saying, you know what, I just want to live my simple little life and just have someone else control my shit, I ain't mad at you. You know? Read the fine print is all I'm saying. Make your own choice. Really kind of think about, if you read the Bible, really think about it and think and use your mind, not your faith. Keep your faith right here. I'm not saying, you know, because it says you don't put God in your pocket and only bring him out when you need him. I'm not saying any of that crap. God's always here, no matter what I do, where I'm at, sleeping, not sleeping, walking, whatever. I feel he is present for me. He's not judging me. He's going to let me do what I got to do, because that's what he gave me, was the capability to mentally make my own decisions in life. People are like, oh, well, you know, why did God kill so many people? And I saw TikToks like that. God just slaughtered a bunch of people. It's like getting arrested. And you see somebody get arrested. I'm not talking about race. I'm just saying a person gets arrested. And you got family members, he never did nothing wrong, or she never did nothing wrong. and he died or she died. Well, here's the thing about that. The reason why the cops are there is because they was robbing the place and then the motherfucker ran. I don't care how good or bad that person is, you ran. Instead of you do the crime, you do the time. So how is that person perfect in your eyes? They committed a crime against a law that we have to live by. We can't change that. You know, you just don't ever get caught. I mean, I'm just saying. But the dude got caught. And he resisted arrest. And the cops are telling him, hey, you need to stop or I'm going to shoot your ass. Person didn't care. Think about that. You chose to continue running. And then you got shot. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, they don't talk about what happened prior to. And the reason why I bring that up is the same thing when you're talking about religion. Okay? You have the mental opportunity to believe in what you want to believe in. Okay? Now, if you're doing a bunch of dumb shit, you're not following basic laws of the land. Okay? Let's not talk about 10 commandments. The basic law of human nature. And if something bad happens to your ass, you had the choice to walk away or the choice to do your time or the choice to stop. Now, here's a caveat to that. There are cops out there that are crooked that just shoot you just to freaking shoot you because they don't like you. I'm right there too. I believe that as well. Now, should the guy or gal, whoever that ran, should have gotten shot? Yeah, because you didn't listen. You were warned. It's like as a child, I don't know about anybody else. I had a thing with fire. I always wanted to touch it. And mom was like, nah, you're going to get burnt. She gave me plenty of times. Then she let me get it. Let me touch it. And it burnt and it hurt it hurt. That's how you learn lessons, right? But I had the opportunity of not doing it. I had the opportunity to listen, but I didn't listen. I paid the consequences. Now, talking about heaven and hell, and the Bible talks about if you don't follow this rule or you don't do this, you got to earn your right to be in heaven or all this other kind of blah, blah. Here's a reality check. And just think about this. Have you ever met anybody that went to heaven? You ever met anybody that went to hell? Have you ever met any of these people in the Bible? They say these people lived for so many years until they finished the task of God and they was finally laid to rest and then went up to heaven. 900 years, 1,000 years they lived. How come we don't have that no more? Could it be because the way we eat, our health, our mental status? Some people believe that we're in hell right now and we're trying to correct a wrong in a previous life in order to get up to heaven. Everybody's going to speculate, and that's the beauty of it is everybody has the opportunity, and that's what free will is. Doesn't mean it has to come from God or some religion. Free will just basically means you have the will to do what your mind wants you to do because that is your journey. Think of it that way. We all have opportunity in life, and some of it's taken away, or some of it's harder, some of it's a struggle. I mean, man, I struggle on a daily with a lot of things mentally, and I can just give up. Like there was times I was like, man, I can't do this podcast stuff anymore. I don't think I'm reaching anybody. I had to change my mindset because I'm not doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for me. The bonus is if it helps somebody. Okay. Or maybe it might help someone else to reach out to me to give me some knowledge. Like I'm reaching out to this guy on TikTok and be like, man, I want to hear your story, man. It doesn't mean I have to believe everything or have the same views of you. I'm not wanting to have a debate with you. I am interested in what you went through to get you to where you are at in your journey now. Okay. I find other people's journeys fascinating. It doesn't mean I believe in it or I agree with it. I wouldn't expect you to do that for me. I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not like, look at this dumbass. Yep. No. I don't believe that we're in hell. I just believe heaven and hell is a state of mind. We as humans, we like proof. And that was another thing that I saw on a TikTok. Well, if there's a God, where's there's proof? He lets all these things happen. He causes all this drama. Killed a lot of people. Well, here's the thing is he warned them people. If you do this, here's the consequence. Don't take it on a faith or godly thing. Think of it as just a common sense thing. You run and someone tells you to stop that's an authority figure. If something happens to it, it's your fault. Now, there are those instances where the authority is wrong and they go past that system of right and wrong. Okay. That does exist. That exists in everything that we do. And religion is another big one. You want to be a sheep and just that's how your life is and that's how you always been. Do you actually have free will? Or are you just following something that I got to follow something? Because there's people like that. It's like, I got to follow something. I can't live my life unless I can follow somebody else that's doing it. So you look at shoe brands. It all started off as one shoe, and then everybody's like, I can make a better version of it. Thinking about religion. Oh, I got a better story. I could really control people. I could make a lot of money. You think the first person that made a shoe was thinking about making money? No, they're thinking about protecting their feet. Making it easier to walk on to where they can do more things to enhance their life. And someone took that concept and made money off of it. It happens every day. Think about that as far as religion. You had one person that's like, man, this is what I believe in. It just fills me up. You got this other character over there that's like, I don't really believe what this dude's believing in, but I got a way to control some people. I got a way to make some money. I can make my life better off the backs of other people. Not everybody thinks like that. Is there a lot? Yeah. I can look down my street if I got on my highway and I can probably count 10 churches within 2 miles. All saying the same thing. That's why I see it as gas stations. Gas station on every corner. Oh, we're going to go a cent lower. Oh, people come into my church. I got something new to tell you about God. Don't give 10%. Give 3% of your money to me. It brings in more people because it's the same thing with gas. People are just like, man, I don't got to give that much money. It's cheaper. You're looking at your struggles. Man, this will actually help me out. You think. Because then you look at other people, it's like, man, I don't mind spending that extra money. It's probably better gas. It's probably a better preacher. But at the end of the day, that preacher is sitting there. Yeah, they take it. I mean, that's with any business. You got to put money back into it. You got to keep the lights on. You got to keep the maintenance up. You got to have money for advertisement. but the rest goes into the old pocket. And they don't have to pay any taxes. It's another TikTok that I saw, and that is 100% true. Oh, you can't. You're just like taxing God. No, we can't do that. But somebody's getting a cut of that. Think of it as any business. Yeah, I'll sell your product in my store, but you're going to give me a percentage of it. I'm not going to tax you, but I want a percentage of your product. And that store didn't make any of those products. How they stay open? They're getting a percentage. It might not be that big, but pennies add up to dollars and whatnot, right? Think about that in religion. To me, yeah, it is a money scheme. It still doesn't keep me from losing my faith. I just don't have faith in humans. I have faith in what I can control and who my small circle of people are. You know, my wife is my rock. My buddy at work, he is my spiritual person. He's my spiritual accountability guy. You know, there's people that come in and out of your life, and it's part of your journey. And I'm not mad at the people on TikTok. The one thing that does make me mad is when you're doing the same thing that you're bitching about. Okay. Not all races are the same. Not all religious people are the same. Especially when they say, oh, you know, all Christians are. That's like saying all black people. You can't say that. All white people. Well, you could probably get away with that. That's just a society we live in. It doesn't make me mad. I'm sorry. I didn't have any privileges because of my skin color. I just never have. But I don't even think of it that way. I think it's like I'm just at the wrong place at the wrong time, or I have the wrong skill set. I'm not saying, oh, it's because I'm white. Nope. It's not part of my journey. It's just very interesting to me how the trends just start going. You know, oh, there's aliens. They've been here the whole time. Okay. And I got more important things to worry about than some aliens. Unless they're helping me pay taxes or helping me get a better job, I really just don't care. You know, I had this podcast in my mind here, and it's been very tricky in trying to express how I feel. Not a lot of people are going to get it, and I'm not mad at you. I just, you know, me personally, I have to think and rationalize things in my own way. And I wish a lot of people were like that. A lot of people aren't like that. You know, like there's TikToks. You just talk about, oh, people are hypocrites. All Christians do this. Now think of all Christians. It's all, you know, people think that it's white. Okay. White people made that. It's white people's fault. They also made slavery. All the bad shit the white people did. You know, I don't believe in that. I just, you know, I wasn't there when it happened. All I can control is the here and now. I don't care what religion you are, what race, what color, whatever. Like I always say, if you're cool people, you're cool with me. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I have the same struggles as I've had conversations with some of my friends that are not white. They're like, you act like that you have struggles. You make more money than I do right now. I had to pay to go to college. I didn't get a scholarship because of my skin color. And it wasn't an all white college. I'm still making less than this guy. You look at applications, it asks for so many things. Why do you need to know all this information? What's that got to do with my skill set? Okay. Just think about that. Look at a job application. How many questions they ask you? Why do you think they're asking you those questions? Equality. Equality's where it's at. So if I'm a white veteran, male, married, where does that put me? You know, oh, hang on a second. We got too many white people that are applying for this role and they're straight and they're married. We got too many of them people here. We're going to have to throw something else in the mix. That's equality. Now, if I owned a company and I put an application out there to have people work for me, first of all, they would have a stake in my company. Okay. But when I interview you, my application is going to be like this. What's your skill set? What can you bring to the table? That's it. I don't care anything else about what you got going on. You know, I don't care what you're anything about you, as long as you have respect and you come in and you have an open mind and be able to help that company grow. I don't know everything. Now, I knew enough to get the company started. Okay. Think about that with religion now. Because it sounds like I'm going off track, but I'm getting somewhere with this. But I want you to have a stake in the company as well. Okay. I don't care where you're from. Now, if you come in and you think because you're a certain race or you're a certain gender that you should top the other person that has way more experience and is bringing something to the table, it's going to be a person that brings more to the table. It's going to be experience. Now, because it's not fair. You don't have any of these certain races at your job. Well, if you're not qualified, you're not qualified. Being a race isn't a qualification. Being a certain religion or a certain gender is not a qualification for this job. That's how I see religion. We all bring something to the table. We all work as a team to where we can all live. And we build each other up. You know, is it my name on the company? No. Am I the CEO? No. Am I the owner? One of them. It would just be the company logo. And we all pitch into that company logo. That's how religion should be. That's just how I feel. I mean, I think that's how it started out back in the day. Or it couldn't have. You have to have order. You can't have always chaos. Because the thing is, with chaos, there's always somebody that has to be a leader. There's always somebody that has to fight to be at the top. Now, granted, there should be leaders because I do believe in that, but they're leaders to help organize everything else. Okay. But you shouldn't worship that person like that. That leader should be able to take ideas from other people to help it grow. That person, the reason why you're leader is you're good at organizing and keeping things at the levels they need to be at, but at the same time, having an open mind to be able to explore new things, to bring more to the table. That's why you bring people in. Now, if you're a leader or an owner of a company, it's like, I just want to make a shit ton of money and I'm going to pay you a little bit of money, but just so you can get your little table scraps, and I'm just going to get rich off of you. Because that's what happens right now. That's what happens with religion. You know, you look at these small, broken down churches that are just very small. If I was to go to church, those ones I go to. Or a cowboy church. It's outside. I've never been to a cowboy church. Church is just man-made. Religion is man-made. You can also say faith is man-made. But there's faith in all of us of what you believe in. That's faith. What you feel inside is what's right for you. Faith can be for any God or any religion, if you want to look at it. It's like, I got faith in this bridge that's going to hold up that I can walk across it. But are you worshiping that bridge? No. That's how I see faith. You have faith in something that you know is going to hold you, that you have trust in. That's just my opinion. But like I said, this kind of been weighing heavy on my mind. I want to kind of throw this out there. As always, I try to say at the end of my podcast, if you agree or don't agree, or if you want to share something or you want to be on this podcast, man, more or merrier. I don't want to have a debate with you. Now, if that's what you want as a debate, that's not going to happen on my podcast. Oh, I need to prove a point. Prove that shit on your own time, man. Because that's your point. Now, if you want to come here and discuss it and be cordial, then I'm good with that. You might have something that I didn't know about, or something else to look into, or something for my mind to be like, that's something I want to think about. I just look at the situation of how everything is going. Oh, it's the end of the world. The Antichrist is coming. That's what it says in the Bible. Supposedly there's aliens. That could just throw the whole Bible theory out the window. There's a guy I watch on there. Eventually, I need to write some of this shit down so I can put that out there. But I'm sure people have seen this. Is this guy on TikTok. And he talks about the Anunnaki and all this other kind of stuff. But he also talks about God, too. You know, I like listening to him because he brings a lot of different aspects to it instead of just sticking with one theory. That's why I took philosophy in college, because I like to hear different opinions, different views, so I can make my own decision for me. Because if one person's saying it, you only got one choice. Again, free will. Either you can listen to a person or you can't. But if you have more people coming together and bringing ideas and, hey, did you take a look at this? Or, man, just leave a message. Hey, take a look at this. You know, if you come on my podcast or putting on there, oh, you're just full of a BS. Blah, blah. Yeah, for you, maybe. That's not what I believe in, but I'm not judging you, but you're automatically judging me. Oh, I'm not a Christian, so I can judge you all day long. Hey, yeah, you can. That's your call. If that's how you want to be, I'm not going to judge you for it. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. So leave a comment. You know, you don't have to follow me or anything like that. I'm not doing this because in the back of your mind, you can sit there and think, well, he's just trying to get a ton of followers. And I say that on a lot of my podcasts. I'm doing this for me, but I'm not being selfish about it. Maybe it can help somebody else, or maybe it's me asking for help. Open your mind. You know, I'm not asking you to give me any money. I don't care about money. I got to have it to pay the bills, but shit, But if I can help somebody, or if you can help me, it's bring a community together and just bring a bunch of ideas to the table. Maybe we can, you know, help each other make a better podcast or a better YouTube channel or something. Or shoot, there's just come together, bring some bright ideas in. So I'm just asking for that. I don't ask for much. But this has kind of ran a little long because I'm long-winded. And I really hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. Those that do celebrate, those that don't, or whatever, at least you get to eat something. I hope everybody's taking care of themselves. I know a lot of people are struggling out there. And I'm not struggling as much as a lot of others. I've been there. I'm not there right now. I'm not where I want to be at. I don't think we're ever where we want to be at. But I'm at a place to where I'm comfortable enough to be able to do this podcast. So I really appreciate those that do listen or watch, because this is on YouTube and some other stuff, and I still haven't got all that fancy stuff in here and figured out yet. But I do appreciate everybody's time. If you do listen to this, taking it out of your day. And I really hope people can leave some comments. So, but thank you again for listening or watching. It's the Daily Dirty with your host, John Croft. Y'all have a great, awesome day.